Again, today's session is about reducing the cost of PPE supplies and vending. Leading the session today is Mohammed Tariq, who has worked at A&M Industrial for 7 years. Starting as an inventory control, then as a field VMI technician. For the last few years, he has managed the AIM VMI program at A&M, initiating vendor-managed inventory programs for over 50 sites and saving clients over $1 million. A&M has been offering vending for many years, but in the last few years, Mo has spearheaded the effort to take it to another level. In the current environment, he has been pursued by those who are handling more PPE than ever and asking how will they be able to make it readily available, yet control its distribution. That, in fact, is what Mo has become an expert at. So I'm going to hand it over to Mo in just a minute. What we're going to do is, if you have a question while Mo is speaking, feel free to raise your hand and put it in the chat, and I'll monitor that, and I will share those with Mo. Otherwise, everyone else will be on mute while he presents, just to keep the conversation going. But we'll also have time at the end to take more questions. With that, Mo, go ahead.
Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Mo. I hope everyone is safe and well. And Mark, thank you for my kind intro. So today, I'm going to go over a lot of the new challenges we're going to be faced with post-coronavirus. So a lot of companies are getting ready to reopen up their facilities, or if you are currently opened up, you might be seeing some issues coming up with shortages, demand, high usage of PPE. So we'll cover a lot of that stuff. And again, feel free at any point to ask me any questions, and then Mark will let me know what the question is. So what are some of the new challenges that we're dealing with currently? So number one is going to be hoarding. So a lot of people are buying PPE supplies, and basically they don't want to run out. So what they're doing is just going out and buying as much as they can, which is creating, obviously, the second part, shortage of the PPE supplies. Third issue we're going to be dealing with is social distancing. So we really can be in 6 feet, even in work areas, that we have to create some sort of a distance.
Mo, can you flip to your other screen, the other PowerPoint screen?
Oh, hold on one second. Give me one sec. One second, Mark.
Okay, just move ahead.
Yep. Can you see this or no?
Same screen. Go ahead.
Okay.
Better.
Okay, perfect. So the fourth issue is surface contamination. So we're going to have a lot of issues where people are constantly touching the same spots or handing off the PPE material. That's going to create contamination from surfaces. Lack of productivity. That's going to be major, especially with the workforce, and then having people finding supplies or looking for supplies. And finally, PPE is kind of required now for reopening. So in any industrial environment, in New Jersey at least, they're requiring them to wear, nitrile gloves, having some sort of a dust mask on to protect themselves overall. So this is kind of a rhetorical question now, but if you asked me this a few months ago, it wasn't, right? What is PPE? Because right now, all you hear on news or everywhere else is, PPE, PPE, PPE. So PPE is personal protective equipment. And actually, I have a funny story to tell you about this, is that recently, my grandma actually called me, and she said, hey, Mo, and she knows I work in an industrial company, and she said, hey, by the way, can you get me some PPE? And I was really taken away from it, because all the years I worked, she never really understood what I did. But the fact that she knew what PPE was, I thought that was very funny. Especially since she's hearing it. I even said to her, I said, how do you know what PPE is? She goes, it's all over the news. I need it before, without it, I can't do anything. So it was very interesting to see that everyone really knows about it. And one of the questions I always ask a lot of companies that we go into that we're looking to do a vending managed program is, how do you currently dispense your PPE supplies? Like, where do you put it? Are you stocking it? Is it in a box, or is it in dispensers? Is it in a cabinet? What are your locations for these PPE supplies? Because that's very important right now. And it's interesting, if you go outside for shopping or you go to grab some groceries, one of the most common thing you see is everyone wears nitrile gloves right now. Everyone has a dust mask on. And I always think to myself, like, where are they getting all these dust masks and nitrile gloves? Are they calling industrial companies to buy nitrile gloves? Chances are not. A lot of these people are able to get this material from their jobs. They're where they're working. They're able to take an extra box home. I have a close friend who said to me recently, like, hey, you need gloves? I'll just grab them for my job. And what that really is going to create overall is a demand, and especially with a shortage going on, it's essential for us to really maintain the supplies we have. And I'm not saying that everybody's going to go around stealing them, but is if you need it at home and you have it at work, a lot of time people say, okay, I'll just take it. There's no issues with it. With the demand and the price and the surge for these supplies, it's almost very essential to this point. It's important to have your supplies, but it's also very, very important to manage it, because if it's continuously disappearing, you have to be able to track it and see what's going on with it. Where are your shortcomings coming from? So this chart I actually got right off the CDC website, and I could tell you that because of the demand and the surge, a lot of these supplies are obviously limited, and also with the price points, you are paying a premium to a certain degree. And I'll get into the solution to a lot of these problems, right? So the fact that we have all these new challenges that we're going to be faced with, how do we go over that obstacle? So one of the ways that we can manage PPE supplies is through a vending program. And what are the benefits from having a vending program in? Well, one, you can control your supplies. You can make sure that certain products are restricted. People have access to exactly what they need, not too much, not too little, or like whether you want to give out a dust mask every other day, you can set those limitations. You want to ensure that people have the right amount, they know where it is, where it's located. So that's where vending come in is a huge plus, because if it's centrally located in your facility, people don't have to think, hey, where's my supplies, or where are they put, so they can go to the machine. You can track everything 24/7. I have some customers that say, hey, but I hand them out myself and I'm able to see exactly who takes it. But, that's a lot of time out of your hand. And is that really where you want to spend a lot of your time? And the other axis of it is, once things start opening up, we're trying to create social distance, less contamination. You don't want people in people contact. So you don't want somebody really manually handing them out, because now you have another area where you can be looking at. And with all those three functions, really what this does is creates a cost saving, because when people know that their products are being managed and tracked and it's looked at and there's some sort of a limitation, well, there's a reduction in consumption overall. Finally, you want to protect against your high-end items. So a perfect example is an N95 mask. It's like gold right now, right? Because you can't find it anywhere. Well, if you have an N95 mask in the machine, you want to protect that. You really want to just give limit to certain people that have access to be able to take that out. So a lot of different ways that you can really reduce that cost down. So now I'll go through our AIM vent. Believe it or not, when it comes to PPE, this is one of the most powerful machines out there. And we deal with a lot of different, vending manufacturing, and we have a lot of different configurations of machine. But in my experience, this is still one of the most powerful machines that we have, because it's kind of like I always give the analogy, it's kind of like wheel. It's almost, you have a certain way and it works. So for PPE supplies, this is great. You can put a lot of different items in here: gloves, masks, respirators, from earplugs to hand sanitizer wipes, or even if you want to dispense hand sanitizer out of it. Many different ways that you can put different items into it. And again, with these machines, we're able to configure them to your need. Recently, we've been experiencing with the coil style vending machine is how to dispense boxes of nitrile glove. So we've always had what we call the vent pack, which is a small box of nitrile gloves with 20 pairs. But we actually now been testing this machine to be able to dispense out a box of 100 as well. So a lot of different ways that we can put that inside the machine and dispense it out. Just keep in mind, anytime that you put a bigger or bulkier product into the machine, you take away from some of the real estate. But at the end of the day, that's something that I always tell people: we can talk and figure out what's important to you, what's worth the space, where can we make some adjustments. So I mentioned earlier restricting products based on job function. So this is a very cool feature about this machine. And this is actually a screenshot I took from one of our customers that are currently using it. So what they did is they created different departments, and each department has its own limitation. So again, in every facility, each department does a different task. And not necessarily like having a machine there and just giving them access to everything is not really needed. So what this is a perfect example. What they've done is they've taken their carb shop and they've really limited certain supplies that they're allowed to get. So for example, this shop, this department is not allowed to get the Clean Guard gray latex coated gloves, but they can dispense, the N95 mask 2 a day. So really neat how they've set up their limitations. And I know for a fact this company's been able to reduce a lot of their spend, because now people know what their limits are. People are using to the product to their best of their abilities. Once you have an idea how long something lasts, you can really manage it. And guys know that too. So when they go to the machine and they've taken out 2 dust masks for the day, they know they're not going to be able to get another one, because the machine's going to say you're not able to get this product until tomorrow. So what they really do is maintain those products, manage them better, and you don't have to be on top of them. This is automated. You set this stuff in the background and it continues to run. Now, people always ask questions like, what if it doesn't fit inside of a machine? So we definitely have lockers that can go and handle bulkier stuff. And just recently, we've been able to implement scales with lockers. So we have scales that can weigh a lot of different things, and you put your items in there. As people take something out of the scale, it knows what the weight was before and after, and it can track against that employee. One caveat I always set with lockers is that once the door opens, someone has access to wiping you completely out, but at the end of the day, you can still track it, you can still manage it. These lockers, we really can configure them in many different configurations. You can make them smaller, bigger, bulkier. It all depends on what your needs are and what you're looking to dispense, whether it's nitrile gloves, whether it's soap, whether it's safety vest. And I am very happy to say that we have this new AIM Colo machine. And this is really, this is how you know I'm too into this, when I get excited about vending machines. But this is really exciting because of the fact that it has a combination of both. Because a lot of customers, well, they say, hey, Mo, I need a coil machine, but I also need lockers, but I don't need that much. It's too much. So what this does is it's a medium in between. It's a half coil, half locker, and A&M's actually, we have them in stock now. And you can configure, again, this machine, many different configurations you can get, but the benefit you have is that you could have a small footprint. You're able to put a lot of different stuff on the top and the bottom. The way I've seen a lot of companies using this is what they've done is they use the bottom rows for coveralls. They would use the bottom rows for nitrile gloves and boxes, or any bulkier items, even, tools to be able to track if somebody's returning and putting them away. And the top they'll use for smaller items like safety glasses, gloves, pairs of earplugs and stuff like that. So there's many different configurations that you can really maintain through this. Again, with this machines, you get this incredible software where you can really track down usage reports, location reports, spend limits, department reports, category reports, so many different reports. And if there's something that you really need for your facility, if you're looking for a unique report, we can customize these. All we're really being able to do is taking the data right out of the software, and it's a web-based software, so we can go on there. It's easy. Anyone can use it from either a computer, their phone, a tablet, and they can run these reports instantaneously. So you don't have to wait and say, hey, let me call my sales rep, or let me call A&M to get a report. You have access to this. You can run your reports. We can also automate your reports. So this way, if you're looking for your job cost report, it will send out your job cost report every week on the Monday. So very easy, very simple to use. And I'd be more than happy if anyone's interested in more in-depth, video on how the software works or what are some of the features. I could really do like a separate video just for that. It's very powerful overall. How do we give guys access to the machine? Well, there's 4 different ways. The most standard one is keypad. So basically, they come in, they type in their ID number, and they're able to access their supplies out of there. The other options is MegStrip or barcode scanner, and we do have capabilities of creating the barcodes right from the software itself. And another really great option is if your company or your facility has RFID throughout the doors and different panels, you're able to access it right by tapping your RFID card. We can put them in sync, so this way you don't have to create an extra number or extra a card for them, so they don't have to carry that around. They can use the same card they access the doors to access the machine. This is a glove board we've gotten from Ansel, and this is very interesting because of the fact that right now with all the PPE going around, it's very important to use the right PPE in the right environment, especially with different departments throughout the jobs that we might have in your facility. So this is one of our companies. What they've done is they've done a great job at using, hey, they've used hammer press, they use certain type of gloves, or their CNC department uses a certain type of glove, and they put these big boards on top of the machine. So when somebody comes to make a selection, they have an idea, why am I taking this glove out and what is it for, or what department it's for. But one step we've taken further there is that every single department, it's locked in. So somebody that works in the CNC department only allowed to take the CNC glove. They're not allowed to take the wrong glove, which essentially you're creating less issues down the road if somebody took the wrong glove out and got hurt. So those are a lot of the key features, I would say, that really define what a vending program does and what the capabilities are. But one of the big features, people ask is, well, everybody got vending. Vending is so popular now. Everybody seems to have some sort of a vending solution out there. Here, this is the traditional steps that they take in regular vending, in an inventory management program. So you have, number one, you have your inventory in a stockroom somewhere. Number two, you'll have employees coming in there and taking their inventory out. And then finally, somebody has to track it. Then once it's been tracked, the report gets sent to somebody where they're able to, process a purchase order or create acknowledgement or something. Then the product is shipped to your warehouse. Somebody has to be able to receive it in. So there's a lot of steps in a typical inventory management system. So all those steps, what they really do is create cost. So every single step has its own individual cost. Now I'm just going to run through some of the costs that we look at when we're looking for cost savings. So number one is PO cost. What does it cost you to create a purchase order? So this is right off from CAP's research. It's industrial manufacturing. They're saying it costs $294. In my opinion, I still think that's a little high, but I use the conservative rate of 150. And if you look at it, if you use the 150 rate and there is 5 POs in a week, well, that's $750 before you even purchased anything. So that's your expense before the items come in. Then the next thing is freight cost. With everything going on around right now, I tell people all the time, the one person that has the best job right now is truck drivers, because they're able to really charge what they want to charge because there's a supply and demand. And freight is continuously goes up, even with the lower gas prices. So this is just something from UPS. A box could round about $15.73 or $14.94. Again, I'm using a conservative rate of $10 a box. So if you had 5 POs, there's a high chance that you're going to have 5 boxes, and that's a $50 expense overall. Finally, one of the most expensive costs is labor cost. And this is just industrial averages that they're looking at right now. So anywhere from, $12 to $27, which currently I think is getting on a higher end, especially with Amazons and other companies starting to offer their employees a lot higher price point just to get them to come into work. That's only going to put a challenge on us because we're going to have to find a way to get those people to come to us. So again, I'm using a conservative number, $15 an hour. And if you look at the receiving and restocking costs, or any product that comes in to your facility, it has to get received in. Then it has to get put away. Then there's the inventory cycle count cost. There's the cost for somebody to go in there and check whether that material is physically there, or if it's short, then we have to order it in. And that's not even including the times somebody misses something. A lot of companies, they have what we call the honor system, is if you take the last piece, let somebody know that you took the last piece. How many times that actually happens? Never, because nobody ever decides to let somebody know that they took the last piece. It's always like, let the last guy figure it out. So what AIM done, or our automated inventory management system, does is we have inventory, or it could be inventory in a storeroom, or it could be a vending machine. And our technicians will come on site. They will take count of the inventory based on the reports. They place the orders. They deliver the material at no cost, so there's no freight allowed. I mean, there's no freight to our program. And then they restock your storeroom. So you eliminated 4 steps individually. Now, the third step is really up to you whether you still want to take that or not. What we have is some customers really like to, monitor and manage what's coming in and what's going out. So whether it's weekly or biweekly, they'll say, hey, send us the order and we'll send you in a PO or we'll send you an acknowledgement. So the third step is really optional whether you want to do it or not. We have other customers where we'll get an open PO for the month, and at the end of the month, they just get a report on everything they've taken out. So it all depends on your facility, what your end goal is, and how you would like to manage it. But there's multiple ways that we can go from there. Finally, with these 3 steps that I was just talking about, what we're really able to come down to is a cost savings. We're really able to show you by eliminating those steps, implementing a vending solution in place, you can really bring down your total cost. So right here is a perfect example of one of the companies we worked with where they were processing 3 POs a week. We reduced it down to 1 because we had 1 PO coming in. Their freight costs went away. There was no more freight costs, no more receiving and restocking costs, no more inventory cycle count costs. And annually, they were able to save over $14,000. So with that one being one piece of it in the process side, and then the second part of it is asset like reduction and inventory reduction through vending programs. So they really, you see about anywhere from 15 to 30%. In this regards, customers were able to see 30% in reduction of inventory. So we were able to show that on that as well. And then finally, very often I get this question, Mo, what is this going to cost me? Like how much am I looking at to get something like this in place? Well, A&M's rolled out a really great program where we look at our customers' total usage and total consumption with A&M. We're able to offer a program to a lot of our companies at no cost. The only cost I think we forward is the licensing fee. So, these machines, and they can range from anywhere from 10,000 to north of 15,000. Are technically at your site at no cost at all. So again, there's no cost on that. The only thing that you'd be looking at is license fee. And finally, we'd look at product cost comparison. I get this question a lot, is that, well, I'm not going to pay more for supplies that I'm already buying. That's fine. I think A&M, we're very aggressive with that. At the same time, we do tell you, you have to look at the bigger picture, which is if we're able to show you a lot of savings, we're not charging you freight, there is value to that. But we're trying to be competitive. We want to make sure that we're not increasing any cost for your facility, and we're able to manage it down. So kind of an idea, why would you want to do this? Why vending? Why now? So one, you want to bring the material closer to your people. You want to make sure they can get what they need whenever they need it. You don't want to manage it because it takes a lot of time to hand out safety products and keep track of everything. So that's not really a good use of time. You want to reduce the process and procedural cost. You want to bring that cost completely down. You want to have availability. You want to, if anybody ever gets hurt on your site, you want them, and you want to see if they're not wearing a glove. Well, you could run a report and say, was the glove actually available in the machine for the employee to take out? So that's a great tool to be able to use for that reason. You want to track every single employee's usage and see, hey, I have 5 guys working in one shift and they're doing the same exact job. Why is, John spending 40% more on PPE, and then this guy isn't. So, there's just another way you can really look at it and say, how can I really, hone into this and figure out what the problem is. And at A&M, we have this saying, it's called assume positive intent. We assume positive intent, right? So a lot of times when I get into these issues where I get calls, hey, my one employee is using so much more, and I don't know what's going on. And I always tell people, just, maybe they're using the wrong glove. Maybe the product they're using is not the right product for the application they're looking at. So there's so many different ways that we can get into it. And then you want to restrict products. I mean, that's really essential, especially with the way demands are right now. It's extremely essential that you have some sort of a matrix for your facility saying, hey, how long is a dust mask going to last us? How long are we telling our employees to keep a dust mask on? Or, how long does a box of nitrile glove last you guys? Those are very important things to know, because based on that, you can really restrict that product. Once you know that, you can put it inside the machine, you can restrict it, and then you don't have to worry about it. You can walk away and you can continue to find other improvements and know that's working in the background where you don't have to look at it. And finally, machine takes no days off. It's 24/7 product availability. So if you put a machine in your facility, it's your hardest working employee. It never takes a day off. It doesn't complain. It doesn't take any vacation. So that's it's very important to have something like that. And I apologize if I tell too many stories, but I actually have something very interesting from another facility that I worked with. We had this one facility that we implemented this big program, and in the beginning stages of it, we were tracking usage, and there was this one employee that used the most amount of gloves compared to everyone else, and it was a really good employee. And their EHS manager came up to me and said, Mo, we got to take a look at this guy's using so much glove. I don't know what's going on. What is he doing? Like, the EHS managers, hair were on fire because he was so angry with this individual. And then we finally went there and we had a conversation, and it was very interesting to find out this employee had set in his mind that every time he went to go get coffee, he got a pair of gloves. So, he got coffee 3 times a day. Guess what? He got 3 pairs of gloves every single time. And he's been doing that for 15 years. So in his mind, he was doing nothing wrong. And, and to his credit, that's what he was trained, and that's how he did it. Somebody trained him that a long time ago. You go get your coffee, you get a pair of gloves as well. So he had a reward system in his head. Every time I get a pair of gloves, I'm going to get a coffee. So long story short, we were able to set some sort of limitations. And the good news is he's still getting his coffee, but he's not getting gloves every single time. And these are pictures I've taken. I am a horrible photographer. So as you can see, these are not the best pictures, but these are pictures of vending programs that we've implemented in places, and we still have all these programs available right now. So it's very interesting. A lot of customers, once they get a vending machine in their facility, they always say to me, "Is like, I don't know why we didn't do this earlier. I don't know why we didn't do this sooner," because it makes so much more sense. You don't want to manage inventory. You want to make the products that you guys are so good at making. Inventory management should be the last of your worries, and that's where A&M can really help in, and we can help you find the right solution for yourself, for your company, and make sure that you guys get the best products to your end user, to your employees, and they don't have an issue with this as well. And to be honest with you, in the beginning stages, a lot of employees think this is like a big brother move, right? But once you put this in place, they're the biggest advocate for it. They love it. They don't want to go around asking for their supervisor for gloves. They want to know that there's a central spot that they can go and get their supplies. So it's very important for both sides overall. We have great testimonial from the customers that we did implement our programs. I'll go over some of them and quickly. Is basically, we had one facility where somebody had to wake up earlier every morning to just go out and hand out PPE supplies. By putting a vending solution in place, now she doesn't have to do that. They could just go there and grab what they need. We had another facility that has such a high consumption of gloves. I mean, it was ridiculous how much gloves they were going through. But once we put a vending solution in place, we provided them with a better quality glove, and we really evaluated their situation. The cost went down tremendously. And another facility, we had somebody just retired, and they were looking to hire another individual and say, hey, we want somebody to come, take this job. And then they were interested in this, and we were able to implement a vending program in place. And believe it or not, they didn't necessarily need to hire. They still ended up hiring someone. They just used them in a different way or different role, but they were able to bring their cost down overall. So I know I talk very fast sometimes, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm sure Mark will let me know what they are as they come in.
Oh, thanks. I have one question right now. Let me ask you the question I got earlier.
Yep.
Can lockers be used with calibrated tools or precision tools or anything that has a timeline by identifying the calibration timeline and provide a report or lockout use?
That is a great question, and the answer is yes. You can set a timeline on each individual locker, and you could even set it up for, okay, after 30 days, do not let anyone get access to this. Or after 15 times of use, don't let anyone get access to it. Actually, currently, we have certain customers that keep probes in their facility in these lockers, and that's how they're managing them. And, after a certain amount of time or a certain amount of usage, it sends a report. It sends a report to the customer, letting them know, like, this probe is out of service. They got to get somebody to grab it, and they love it. It's really a great system for them. Great question.
Right now, that's the only question I have. Does anybody have any other questions? Well, I think you.
Yeah, and again.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, and again, if anyone likes any of the things that we're seeing right now, and you're interested in, and a more in-depth or more custom presentation to your to your site and in areas that you want to cover, feel free to reach out to me. I can definitely set that up, and we can go over any of the individual functionality of your facility that you might be interested in. And we can really narrow down on what we can do to help and what we can do to provide a great solution for your facility.
All right, right now I don't see any other questions, Mo. I want to thank you for your time and your expertise. I want to let everybody know that following this webinar, I will send out an email to everyone who attended with a copy of Mo's presentation, and we also plan to make a recording available of this session in case you want to re-listen or re-watch it or share it with anyone else. If anyone has any further questions, again, you can still reach out to your A&M representative, or you can respond to the email when I send it out to everybody after the fact. I want to also let people know that in our series of webinars, next week we have also an exciting one, Workspaces in the Post-COVID World, Rethinking Work and Home Office Environments. So our team will be presenting that, and I'll have information on that also in the email that goes out after this session. With that, again, I want to thank everybody for attending and wish you a good day. So long.
Thank you. Bye.